14th, y'all. Hope y'all survived Friday the 13th and that it was a spectacularly wonderful day for you. I'm coming to you live as opposed to dead from New York City. And located here in New York City in Manhattan, 9 blocks from the Times Square, 42nd Street. So you'd think walking into this place, unlike the Times Square electronics stores, the prices would be a bit reasonable. It turned out that the great deal that I got for this particular action camera was not. Got it home, looked at it, and because the guy told me, oh, it's the Prog Hero 4 Black, he kind of like was jacking me up things. Because I originally went in looking for the Polaroid Cube, the $99 action camera by Polaroid. They didn't have it. Then he shoved this thing in my face, and said, I'll give it to you for X number of dollars. Okay, fine. So I get it home. Something doesn't look right to me, because I discover it's just the basic camera. So I checked the price at Best Buy and B&H Photo and Adorama, and discovered that this guy had offered me such a deal that I actually paid $70 more for the camera than it actually lists. So I went back in today to get this rectified. They don't do refunds. And he also offered me a second 16 gigabyte Class 10 SD card that was priced at $89.99. Make good on that. So, tested it. Then I realized I'd been hacked. So I called GoPro and customer service. I also discovered that the camera had a defective battery. Knowing that they weren't going to do anything more for me there, I called GoPro to get it taken care of. Oh, first of all, before this, I called the New York City Office of Consumer Affairs, and I was basically told, tough shit, businesses can charge whatever the hell they want. Sorry for your loss, sucker. Fuck you. We're not going to do anything. You weren't overcharged. They didn't charge you a lower, offer you a lower price and then charge you a higher price. No, they offered me a higher price on an item that, So actually, that's also because when I went in today, I actually took a look at the prices on these things. And the Hero 4 there lists for $400. The GoPro Hero 4K Black they have listed at $999. Double. Every single thing in that store, for the most part, is double the price. Now, the SD card, or the 6, was, I can't even say it was double the price. It was $90 as opposed to what it would, cost everywhere else. Like around, maybe $5 online, $6. So anyway, going back to GoPro, I discovered that I only decreased the battery. And went to use it today after I got through all the nonsense with the business and the bullshit. That bullshit with the Office of Consumer Affairs. And so I call it, and it still wasn't charging today, so I called GoPro and told them I had this issue. And then I told them about what I was charged and what they are charging. discover that their products are being sold for twice their list price. You know, the GoPro Hero 4K Black, a silver rather, was $799. The Hero Plus was $599. Things sort of get patterned. They're priced because they know tourists are fucking stupid enough to purchase. Plus, because they don't give refunds and exchanges only, they know that if they discover that they've been had, they're screwed. They have no fucking recourse. They're not going to get their money back. So, I'm going to say, New York City, and people are, this is why New York City is so fucking expensive, because businesses charge whatever the fuck they want to for whatever they're selling. Got a Greisky supermarket here. You know what it means? Their little packages. What do they retail sell for? I'm shopping for buttock lunches. They but they used to be like 89 cents. Now they're like 89 cents for a little packet. Why can you not hear me? Can you hear me now? That's what I get for not being able to actually hear my what's it? What else is going on here? So they're like, what's on your next? That's a $1 coupon. So, whatever. So anyway, this Greisteeds charges close to $1.50 for this. New York is so fucking expensive. It's because the city charges whatever the fuck they want to charge you. So that's my rant on Manhattan prices. my Manhattan, New York City, they fucking rip you off. And so there's that. Let me turn this up a bit. Hopefully I can still be heard. I'm going to turn that off. And I hope you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me now? So I'm going to gain this up a bit more. So hopefully, that's going to work. Got you up at Unity. Going to gain it up. So that's my bit. Like I said, that's my minor bitch for today. Getting. So everybody, when you're listening and you need to purchase something, even if you need to purchase a new rolling suitcase, don't fucking buy it from any of the places in Times Square. You're going to be charged 2 to 3 times more than you would pay for it anywhere else. Just it's just the way it is. You're not saving money. It's not a bargain. You're getting ripped off. And so that's that. What else is going on? Oh, let me do this. Donald Trump, our favorite narcipath. There it is. Now, what is a narcipath, you say? It's also known as a narcopath. And that is somebody who actually is a combination narcissist and psychopath. So we're going to talk about this. And usually a narcipath is somebody who was the golden child. But it can also be, but the question is with Donald Trump is, until his brother's passing, was he the scapegoat? or what? Oh yeah, by the way, I've got to reintroduce all of this. You're listening to At the Table here on netrootsradio.com and Spreaker.com. And thank you, Ricky, for telling me to turn the theme music down. Because apparently I had it up too high and not even the ducking worked on that. Going to play with the volume a bit more, so hopefully you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? There we go. So anyway, I was doing a rant about things being way too fucking expensive, and New York City, the city of ripoffs. That's why I've always been rather bunchy about buying anything in this city, because you never know if what you're getting is first or second quality. Bought three champion T-shirts from a sporting goods store here, and one of them is already unraveling at the armpit. I'm almost convinced that everything for sale in this city is a second item. So that's how good. Going back to the narsopath, uh, and what this is that mostly my research comes from a website called Flying Monkeys, which is about narcissistic abuse within the family structure, and it's a lot of blame shifting. Now, if you notice, with Trump, he does that a lot. Um, I will have up. Actually, I will have this set up for you over at my over at the At the Table webpage, Facebook page, which is facebook.com/masterless people. And I'm going there right now. And um, stop that. And so this is the definition of blame shifting. And I think a lot of you will get this and understand this. Quote, blame shifting is placing the entire responsibility for one's unpleasant actions, consequences, and feelings on another person or external event and insisting that others agree. I think you will find that there's a lot of this going on within Trump's candidacy, and also sadly amongst some Bernie Sanders supporters and some Clinton supporters. People aren't willing to take responsibility for a lot of stuff, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit on this, but it blame shifting is goes around. You've spent all that time. You know, you know, um, there's a smear campaign against Donald Trump because people are contradicting him, calling him out on his behavior. It's all somebody else's fault. David Dukes endorsed him, and like, I didn't know he was head of the Ku Klux Klan. He's no longer a delegate to the convention, from California to the convention, but he selected a neo-Nazi to be one of his delegates from California, and it took him long enough to like say oops in response to being questioned about the death threats against and the anti-Semitism being directed towards Ms. Yoff for her profile on Melania Trump. It was so I don't give a shit. So he's tacitly telling, as a narcissistic abuser, sociopathic abuser, that it's fine with him for you to smear this person, and I get to be the victim. By the way, and it's this is the other thing. If Trump was so secure as how wonderful an employer, how wonderful and tremendous and fair man he is as an employer, as a husband, Why did his ex-wives all have to sign non-disclosure agreements? Why did he or is he still requiring people volunteering for him for his campaign to sign no disclosure agreements? What is he hiding? Fun fact, while the state of New Jersey gave him a casino license, the state of Nevada did not, because they did not consider him trustworthy enough. Think about that. So here is some things that you might recognize. This is in Donald Trump regarding narcissistic abuse. Defensive posturing by constantly seeking to offend first and dominate, creating or manufacturing chaos. Oh, if you don't nominate, if you don't say I am the nominee now, there's going to be, and if you try and take away the nomination for me, there will be riots at the convention. Overreacting to intimidate. Fault finding about the victim or excuse as or justification to abuse. Megyn Kelly. All sorts of things that he came up with about her. Calling it in, literally calling it in to the news media, and they accept this. Consider how the media would have responded if former candidate Ted Cruz had called in an interview rather than going into the studio to be interviewed. Consider how the media would respond if Bernie Sanders phoned it in instead of going into the studio for the interview and then refused to take hard questions, saying how tremendous and wonderful he is. Imagine the uproar and the knickers and the twist and all of this had Ted Cruz called and pretended to be his own PR man. Double standards exist galore because even the news media, they're saying, oh, it's access. No, yes, it is about access because they're well aware that they're being abused, but they will take the abuse so they can continue getting access. Yeah, and Trump is, I'm just this. Where is this? Flying monkeys. Here we go. So this is God damn it. Pardon my French. I just screwed up. I have to edit my post here. So you can go to flyingmonkeysdenied.com. It's one word. So it's something we all need to be aware of in our lives in general, how we sometimes allow ourselves to be manipulated into behaving and acting against our better instincts or intuitions or morality, our upbringing. So there's a dog barking outside. So, it's all good. And it's, and the narcissistic, the narciopath, the narcipath also brings us towards cognitive distortion because they believe their own, they believe their own bullshit. And so that cognitive distortion leads to cognitive dissonance, where when you try and reconcile two disparate beliefs, you end up sort of like short-circuiting your brain. And you'll find all of this discussion on what a narcissistic sociopath is on the website that I just talked about, and I'm linking to on my Facebook page. And I also have to do this. Need to say thank you to the good folks at Unity Networks for keeping us up and running. And if you are listening to me, on netrootsradio.com, you can support the station by becoming a Patreon of the station, or you can go to At the Table, Patreon / At the Table, or ATT show, one of those two, and, you know, becoming a Patreon to my show. And I'm working on some goodies for you guys. If you do, you know you want. You know you want to say, shut up and take my money. I'm working on it. And maybe, like some really great stuff, but you're going to have to trust me on this. And going on to this, Noam Chomsky, who is philosopher. It's very difficult to describe Noam Chomsky. Even Marshall McLuhan, who wrote The Medium is the Message, talking about how we are manipulated by the media. And this was in 2010, in a 2010 interview. I'm not going to say it's like late Weimar Germany. I'm going to say it's more like Italy around the same period of time. And Trump is not a national socialist, which is far different than a democratic socialist, which is what Bernie Sanders is. He's a fascist. Trump is Mussolini-esque. He doesn't know jack shit. Trump is willing to destroy this country by defaulting on loans, by basically saying the country's bankrupt, fuck you, which will wipe out everybody's savings. It'll wipe out Wall Street. It'll wipe out the banks, your 401ks, your IRAs, your savings accounts, everything, you think, Germany's, pre-World War II Germany's inflation, where bread was purchased with wheelbarrows filled with Deutschmarks, or Zimbabwe, where they were printing 1 billion Zimbabwe dollar banknotes. That's how worthless the currency was and is. Think about the American dollar being just as worthless, with the yuan and ready to take over, with the Chinese currency being ready to step into, even though they're having economic issues. Think very, very carefully about, do you want, how hard it is for you to get credit if you have a bad credit rating? Think about America, post-American Revolution. A lot of things, Europe wanted to be paid in currency, cash, not, credit. Tradesmen, craftsmen, they couldn't get they wanted to be paid hard cash. So this is exactly what Trump wants to do. He wants to take us off wants to take off the credit, take us off the credit card, and have everything done in cash. But if you screw with the full faith and credit of the United States of America, your cash is fucking worthless. The dollar will be as worthless as a Confederate greenback. And, unless you've invested in gold, you're not even going to be able to get to your gold. If you've invested in gold, you're not actually holding that gold unless it's in your safe. And if it's if it's it's being held for you, you're never going to see it. They're not going to give it to you so you can use it. So people need to think extremely carefully about this, and that's why, we know nothing about finance. Finance, you don't know how to balance a checkbook, do a household budget. Nobody's taught this, and then parents are getting parents, my brother's age, getting, when I was growing up, we were introduced to the new math as opposed to what my parents were taught in school about mathematics and arithmetic. And my father, who held a PhD in chemistry, and I would be at loggerheads while he was attempting to help me with my math homework because he was coming from it differently than how I was being taught in school. And it was extremely confusing to me. I have been watching some videos that were made in classrooms with, dealing with the Common Core math. And I can see why parents are upset, are confused by it, because it's different from what they were told. Because the students today are being actually taught how to use mathematics, not just conceptualize, but use it, which feeds into critical thinking skills, which is, of course, why the right wing is dead set against it, because who wants people who can critically think and balance their checkbooks and understands area and this, that, and the other? It's so much easier to have an uneducated, poorly educated, as Donald Trump said, he loves the poorly educated because he can push their buttons. And that's what it's all about. It's his campaign manager, I think it was, said the presidential this is reality. Donald Trump and his people believe they are on a reality show. It's then that the presidential campaigns and the race and the campaigns are all reality show. And if you're accustomed to watching shows where where you, the public, can call in and decide who's going on and who's going home, which is why you have, people screaming they can't, independents screaming the unfairness of it all because they can't vote in the Democratic primaries. you know, um, and that every time Bernie Sanders does not, even though Sanders might win the popular vote in the states in the primaries, if it's a proportional delegation, they always will scream, Hillary Clinton stole the vote. She's a thief. They have fully committed to the right wing lies since Hillary and since the Clintons were in office. And the vilification of Clinton supporters by Sanders supporters has totally turned me off to the Bernie Sanders campaign, because Senator Sanders has decided that he's going to let his people who support him for president, get down in the dirt and fight. Well, without telling them to stop. Threaten, piss on you. When Clinton supporters are going in and they are being threatened, then there is a problem. These supporters are no better than the Trump supporters who will beat you up because you don't support Donald Trump. If in anybody who uses their political ideology to attack somebody else's political ideology violently, you don't get my support, period. So I'm kind of, I will vote, but I need to be convinced. I will vote in November, but I need to be convinced. Definitely not voting for Trump. But once the Democratic convention happens, the nominee will have to convince me that they are the ones to vote for. And the biggest problem is, I see on the Democratic side, is that people are not accustomed to getting down. They don't play. When you're dealing with a schoolyard bully, it's very hard for adults to let you've got Dodgy Don, calling, you know, both Democratic candidates for the nomination by schoolyard names. And the poorly educated supporters of Donald Trump love it. However, the highly educated Trump supporters are not so sure about this. We have seen a steady decline in the political acumen on the right, and it's going to be interesting to see how Karl Rove deals with this issue. Because I'm pretty damn sure he ain't going to rig the election to make sure Trump gets elected. And so, so what else can I talk about, blither on about for the last several minutes or so? Um, um, what else? Oh yeah. Um, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next. I've sort of done my ranting and raving, and oh yeah, who knows? Do you really care? Excuse me. Um, some people think, yeah. So here I am. What else is there to say? I have absolutely no idea what else I want to say. Um, do you? You can actually, well, I say you could Skype me if you want to talk to me, or you can just stand there and listen. I'll set up the communications line um, next time we speak next week. Um, might actually be pre-recorded. Oops, turning the volume down. And in the background, you hear. There we go. Isn't being living in New York exciting? You get sirens in the background. Um, it's just really, really awesome. Oh, oh, um, this is really kind of cool. Um, there is a bacteria that has been discovered in the gut of the chinchilla that doesn't have mitochondrial DNA because the gut bacteria doesn't get any oxygen. And so life can actually exist without the mitochondria. Consider that. Consider that. So there just might be alien life. Well, bacteria is alien life, but I'm talking about really, exoplanet life, you know. So I'm actually looking forward to that. Where is it? That was found at lifescience.com. I love. That's an awesome website. If you're into science and all that, lifescience.com is really good. So is Science Daily. That is like a great aggregate site. And you can just have so much fun and learn just so much. Okay, there we go. And I have a nice breeze blowing through here, so you might be hearing the wind coming through because I live on the seventh floor of a building and I have south facing windows. So even if it's like 60 degrees outside, it might be closer to 70 here inside my seventh floor apartment just because of the way the windows face. Oh, helps if I call it by the write it down by the right name, man. It's not live science. It's life science is livescience.com. And where are we here? Oh yeah, and the Hyperloop just had its first test, and it looks like it's gonna work, which is just really cool. Go California and making life faster. Oh, here's a good article out of Health. It's like, where does all my snot come from? And it's life's mysteries, according to them. Where does your snot come from? What is all of that stuff that just drains out of your drains just doesn't crawl out of your nose, but just runs and drips and just makes your life miserable. So where does all that snot come from? Oh, cool. There's an infographic. Um, so yeah. Depending on the color, depends on what's going on with your body. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into the details of the colors of the snot, but it's partially part of your body defending it's your immune system defending itself. So when you have like a runny nose and there's no color to it, you're good. You just have a runny nose. But and they're also in this article talking about sneezing in threes. So it's like when you sneeze, if you only sneeze once, then whatever was causing you the irritation in your nose is gone. Two sneezes, it takes two sneezes to get that out of your nose. If you sneeze three times, that's how long it takes. The number of sneezes is the number is what it takes to get whatever is irritating your sinuses or your nasal cavities to get it out. And isn't this a great dinner time conversation, people? I know you just love it because you are listening to At the Table here on netrootsradio.com and spreaker.com/netrootsradio. And, you know, I enjoy just bringing up bizarre things because it's the nature of my attention deficits. Life for me would be impossible without my ADHD. The only I'm on Adderall for it, but it only helps me focus on my procrastination and bounce off the walls a bit more than I already am, even though it's supposed to work in the opposite. Um, so where are we here? Let's see. Belief in witchcraft, of course. Let's see. What else do you want to talk about? Let's see. Oh, here on Human Nature. Also on Life Science, there's an article on the weird history of gender segregated bathrooms, which is a very important thing because with all the right wing freak out over trans women in bathrooms using the women's room, they don't seem to have any issue. They don't seem to mind the fact that there are trans men going into the men's room and looking at their shortcomings. But then again, we have always been more obsessed or intrigued by men who dress as women, live as women, and less intrigued by women who live as men, dress as men. And I don't know where that culturally comes from, if it's an issue of men feeling emasculated because they see their masculinity is threatened by a man who will wear makeup and a dress or dress in women's clothing. I worked with a guy back in 1980 when I worked for Bank of America who was so slender, beautifully, naturally slender, that the only things that fit him were women's clothing. And he got into trouble at work for wearing women's blouses, and he could find nothing that fit him that were manly, were masculine. It seemed that the only people who had issues with it were the supervisory personnel. Nobody else did. I hated him because he could wear clothes better than me, but I'm currently fat, and and I don't mind curves. I don't like rolls. I have. We won't go. I'm having a bad self-image day. And so we're going to go to the gender-segregated bathrooms thing. I mean, I've done theater, and we've had unisexual facilities in the theaters that I've worked in. Of course, it's been a single-use facility, but that should not be an issue. You know, you can actually have a single-use facility, and you just have one side for men, one side for women. You know, and or just get rid of the fucking urinals and let everybody use stalls. I'd prefer to have some privacy. You know, frankly, I think it's a little weird that men don't have an issue with standing next to somebody who might be checking the size of their dick out, who's perfectly straight. Penis measuring seems to be a heterosexual dude. My dick is bigger than your dick. I don't. No, nah. Don't do that. It's kind of stupid. It's not like I'm going around, like women are going around saying, "Let's see how big your vagina is." See, is your vagina bigger than mine? Yeah, mine's bigger than yours. I'm an alpha female because I have a bigger vagina than yours. Yes, I'm using the word vagina. Because we can't tell how big somebody's uterus is. Yeah. But let's see. Let's see. According to this article, the first gender-segregated public restroom on record was a temporary setup at a Parisian ball in 1739. Now that I can understand, because women's clothing at that time, the French doors are designed the way they are because the paniers, which held out the women's skirts, were so wide that in order for a woman, a noble woman, wealthy woman, to get through a door, she had to turn sideways. So the French doors were, so they decided, so they made the doors double wide, triple wide. So French noble women, pre-revolution, could get through the doors. So having segregated facilities for something like that makes sense. And also interestingly enough, Western nations, public facilities in Western nations were male only. Women weren't even, it wasn't even considered important enough for women to have somewhere to pee or take a dump. Think about that. Women in public had nowhere to relieve themselves. So, just think about that, ladies, gentlemen. I'm sure these right-wing men, if they had their druthers, they wouldn't have restrooms for women either, because women should not be out of the house anyway. So, So I think that the huffing and the huffle puffle and the vapors and the and the hand wringing over gender neutral facilities has a lot to do with the idea that women and trans women should stay home, should stay out of the public eye. They don't have a problem with trans men because they're perceived as men. Because they've got the facial hair, they're taking testosterone and other male hormones, you know, and they've had their breasts removed. So they don't actually see a problem with that. But they still have it in their heads that women should not be seen. Maybe that's why there's always a dearth of female facilities, of women's restroom facilities in nightclubs, in bars, in sports stadiums. Think of, because women shouldn't be there anyway. So that's sort of that's my take on that. Um, so I don't know what else to tell you, ladies. If it comes down to it, occupy the men's room. Obviously, if they have issues with men in the women's room, they shouldn't have issues with women using the men's room if there's a dearth, could be fun. Could be fun. And it's a matter of, yeah, I know some people's attitudes can't change, and I can respect your attitude, but and your belief systems, but when you make a effort, a full court press effort to impose it upon me or others, I draw the line there, as everybody should. If you don't like the idea, this situation with oh my God, Trent men in the women's room has gotten to the point where lesbians are being arrested because dudes don't believe they're women. You know, women are complaining because mother brought her 6-year-old son into the ladies' room bathroom because he's too young to go into the men's room by himself. I feel heartbroken for single dads with their daughters having to take them into the men's room because they cannot go into the women's room with their daughters. Because you know what will happen then. It's the other thing with this bill is that it is making it impossible for single parents to take their children out in public. Perhaps that is the other reason for this bill. If you're, like I said, if you're a single father and you have a daughter, and can you trust some woman to take your child into the bathroom? To trust a woman to change your child? Do you trust, if you're a single mother with a son, parent with a son, do you trust a man to take him into the men's room to change him? You can't take your you can't take your infant son in. All hell will break loose. Oh my God, there's a man. It's like the old Mr. Bubble cartoon. There's a man in the grandma's, there's bubble bath in the tub. It's an animated cartoon. It's an animated commercial. And to show how lathery and bubbly it gets, the grandson, makes a beard and mustache out of the bubbles on his face. And grandma freaks out and she calls the police. There's a operator. There's a man in the bathtub, operator. And he goes, "Relax, grandma. It's only me." Are we back at that stage again? It's just utterly and totally ridiculous. I'm sorry, dudes, if I have to pee in a bar and the men's room is vacant, I'm fucking going in there and pee. I'm gonna fucking go in there and take a dump if there's a line for the women's room. Deal with it. I should find that commercial and there it is. God, I love the search engines. Here you go. I'm going to play it for you. Oop. Helps if I actually turn the So yeah, that's the commercial, and are we back at that? Well, the first part of that with do we have a lot of grandmas? You know, you know that's the other interesting thing with all this hubbub about trans women in the ladies' room. I have a bunch of men, standing guard, making it their duty to make sure that your tits are big enough and you don't have a penis going into that bathroom. So I've got to say, the North Carolina pervert bill is exactly that. It's the North Carolina pervert bill, and I think we should start referring to that. The North Carolina pervert bill, not the bathroom bill, but the pervert bill, because it has given rein for allegedly, heterosexual men who, have normal sex lives, leave to determine who can go into the women's room and who can go into women's dressing rooms as well. If you don't meet their definition of female, if your hair's too short, if your tits aren't big enough, if you're kind of chunky, then or if you're a little too fit, and you've got, you have a nice lean sports body, ladies, then you can't be a woman because your tits ain't big enough and you got no body fat. And that's the way it works. And we're coming up to the top of the hour. So, what am I going to do here? I don't know what I'm going to do here. Going to give you some music to play you out, I think. I think I'm going to give you some music to play you out here. And this is the awesomeness of a some PodSafe music from Enhance and Martin. I'm going to give you a Martin um, R. And this is Blue Pill from Winter Colors, from the album Winter Colors. And I'd like y'all to, and I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Join me again next week for At the Table. Stay tuned for Katie Klaubish and the Katie Speak Show here on Netroots Radio. And as for those of you on Spreaker.com, tune in later tonight for, well, at 9, no, 10, midnight tonight for another Roundhouse Pyro Hour of blithering fun. And somebody will be in the chat room tonight because I do this by myself. But I'd like to thank all the good folks at Netroots Radio for putting up with me. Justice, I love you, darling. Wink and Yuri Who and Ricolio and Sunscreen and everybody else involved with this whole loving production. And I'll see you again, everybody. Listen to the music.